Still rocking after all these years.
This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
This is it, the show that started it all. Often imitated, but never equal. From San Francisco, USA, online since 2004. It's the one and only Rock and Roll Geek Show. With the original rock and roll geek, Michael Butler.
Frank Meyer, thanks for coming on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. I really appreciate it, friend.
No problem, man. It's been a long time. You and I used to share a lot of stages together.
Yeah, American Heartbreak. We played many shows together in front of a lot of people and in front of no people as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's sort of the hallmark of my career.
Yeah, hey, you and me both, friend. So, you guys did a lot of Europe tours too?
Yeah, I mean, we did more U.S. stuff than Europe, but we did one big tour of Europe where we kind of hit everywhere, and then we went back for a few little, like, one-offs where we would just go and do a festival or go and do, like, a little Spain run or something, you know?
Who booked the tours in Europe?
We used to work with Manny from Teenage Head. I think he did you guys too, right?
That's right. Same guys who did us. Yeah.
I'm guessing that I probably met him through Billy from your
probably
band.
Probably.
Or vice versa. But I think you guys were with him before we were.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Manny's a good guy. We had fun times.
Oh yeah, we had ridiculous fun times.
Met some good people in Europe too.
Yep.
So, where are you living now? You in Long Beach?
I'm in Long Beach. I moved here about 15-ish years ago. Okay. My daughter is a senior in high school now, but when she was little, I just felt like I didn't want to, live in a little apartment trying to raise a kid. And in LA at that time, as now, it was insanely expensive to get a house or a condo or anything like that. So I moved down to Long Beach, and then I just loved it down here. And I've had all sorts of opportunities for work where I might have moved back to LA, but I'm just like, nah, fuck LA, dude.
Are you married? You married?
I used to be. I'm not married anymore, but my ex-wife's down in these overall parts, and this is sort of where I've raised my kid, which is a much better place to raise a kid than, say, Hollywood, in my opinion.
So the daughter lives with both of you? You guys share?
Yeah, kind of splits between the two of us, yeah.
I
mean, she's a senior and she drives, so she kind of does whatever she wants, but, basically she goes between the two of us, yeah.
Yeah, my daughter is getting ready to have her first kid. Well,
oh, wow.
Yeah, wait till that comes. You'll love it.
Yeah, man. It's, I got to tell you, a lot of people bitch and moan. I've generally loved being a father. I mean, it has its ups and downs. It has its tough spots and stuff, but I really enjoyed it, and it sort of complemented my life, not detracted from it. You know?
My daughter was my best friend. I took her to all the shows. We went.
Oh yeah, me too.
Went to see AC/DC. Go ahead.
Yeah, I took her to see AC/DC as well. I took her to see Kiss as her first concert.
Oh yeah.
And she's seen Fishbone 3 times. She's seen Van Halen twice with Dave, of course.
Did you ever take her to like emo shows and stuff?
When she started getting into punk rock herself, I was sort of her way of going to see shows and stuff. So I started taking her more to the emo bands that she was into. And then her and her friends got just on their own, got super into the Adolescents, and the Adolescents play around here all the time. So since I know those guys, I took her to see them a bunch of times. She was stoked.
Yeah, my daughter's favorite band was the Descendants.
Hey, as long as these kids head towards punk rock, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Now she's veered off into shit music, but what are you going to do? She does
her
own thing.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm a producer and director by day, so I've generally worked in TV or digital. For about 12 years, I was at NBC, and I was an in-house director producer there.
What shows did you work on?
Well, I worked for 2 different networks within NBC. One was G4 TV, and one was the Esquire network. Uh-huh. And so I worked on everything from American Ninja Warrior to a lot of shows on G4, like Attack of the Show and X-Play, a lot of video game stuff.
Right.
I was a field producer for the most part, so I did a lot of like going around to Comic-Con and E3 and Tokyo Game Show in Tokyo and all these sort of gaming and tech conventions and filming packages for that.
Right.
And then I also, on the side, am an author. I've written 8 books, all published books, mostly music books, and two on raising kids.
Didn't you help Monty Melnick do his book?
Yeah, I co-authored Monty's book. I ghost wrote one with Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. I worked with Niels Lozauer on his first Van Halen book. I did a Phil Spector book. I did work with Walter Yost Jr., the famous sports photographer, on one of his books. And then I wrote a couple books on fatherhood. And that was always kind of my side hustle. Really, once I became a dad, I was like, shit, I got to earn a little bit more money. So that was sort of my way of kind of, getting some extra dough coming in every few years. And then rock and roll. I've always played rock and roll. That
Monty Melnick book is really good. I had him on the show a couple times when that book first came out years ago.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. And now I'm actually working with Amit Zappa's company, Monster Foot Productions, and he's got a publishing deal, and we're working on some book projects. So hopefully I'll be doing more books. And then in addition to all that, I actually directed, that came out last year, a documentary film, and I've got a second documentary film I directed that's coming out later this year.
What was the documentary?
It's called Risen, the story of Shron Hellraiser Smith, and it's about a Wu-Tang Clan rapper that had a brain aneurysm, and he lost his ability to rap. And he was a friend of mine, so I followed him for years as he had to relearn to walk and then rap again.
And what's the next documentary?
Ironically, another hip-hop-based movie. It's about the history of freestyle rap. Yeah, and it's narrated by Chuck D. It stars Ice-T and a million awesome rappers.
Now, there's not much money in making documentaries, I'm guessing.
No, not really. There's much more money in TV. There's a little bit more money in playing music, and definitely more money in writing books. But I just do them all and sort of figure out the math. Figure out the math later.
Yeah, it beats a day job, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've sort of figured out all these different ways to essentially monetize my art and interests. I also was working at Fender for the last 4 years until COVID, as directing their digital tutorial videos for their app Fender Play, but then they laid a bunch of people off around COVID, and so I'm not doing that anymore.
So when you, with the corona happening and all, you would just work from home?
Yeah, I mean, I was already recording at home, and I was already, directing and editing, so I just sort of pivoted for a while to just I guess I'm going to make a ton of recordings, and I started doing a lot of session work with other bands and writing with other artists. I wrote a song with the Dogs that just came out called Under the Coast. I started writing with Warrior Soul, the band Warrior Soul, and Corey Clark. Yeah,
Corey Clark, a national treasure.
Yeah, I'm writing with him right now on the new Warrior Soul record.
Wow.
And then he hooked me up with these guys out of the UK called City Kids, and I sang on their last 2 records. And then they and I formed another band called Anti-Fashion. And then me and Brian Coakley from the Cadillac Tramps have a band called Blind House, but we also started a band called the Antivirals. And then on top of all that, I sing with James Williamson from the Stooges, play guitar and produce Thor. And
you play with Thor too?
Yeah, I do. And also, I have now.
Doesn't he bend metal or something?
He sure does, my friend. And then me and Eddie Spaghetti from the Super Suckers have a group called Spaghetti and Frank with a record coming out this summer.
Now, he's not affiliated with Spaghetti Town Records, is he?
No, he's just the frontman of the Super Suckers. Okay, I mean, not just the frontman. He's the mighty frontman of the mighty Super Suckers.
Yeah, is he cancer free now? I thought he had cancer.
Yeah, he's cancer free, and he lives down in San Diego. And he and I have been pals forever. But one of the little silver linings of COVID is that guys like he and I, who had been friends forever, but really necessarily hadn't recorded together, when the Super Suckers kind of were forced to go on break because they were all scattered around the country and couldn't tour anymore, he and I lived close enough together. I was like, well, why don't you roll up to my little home studio and let's start writing and recording? And we started making a whole thing together.
So he lives down there?
He's in San Diego, so he's like an hour and a half from Long Beach. Not too bad.
Did you do that Warrior Soul covers album?
I did. I play all the keyboards on it. I play the cowbell on American Band, and I sing backing vocals on the whole record.
That's I like that record.
Yeah, I like that record too. You should hear the one we're working on now, dude. It's insane. It's killer. It's very heavy.
Did you do Back on the Lash? Was that the one before that?
I didn't know. I hooked up with them for the covers album. Basically, the way I hooked up with Corey, which I guess is the way I've hooked up with a lot of people.
Oh, Rock and Roll Disease was the one before that, I think, right?
Yeah, I have all that stuff, and I'm a big fan. And much like with Wayne Kramer and Sylvain and Cheetah and Cherie Curry, all these people I played with, I really just kind of stalked them as a fan.
Yeah.
And I sort of like yourself, like I literally reached out to Corey and was like, dude, I'm a huge fan. And here's some of my credentials, and I write all these songs. I have a home studio, and here's a link to 3 songs I think are right up your alley. You would dig. And he got back to me and was like, "These are fucking awesome, man. Let's do some stuff."
Yeah, they do. They do DOA, the best Van Halen song there is on that album.
Me and the guys from his band did, when Edward died, did a Van Halen tribute we covered in a simple rhyme. You can find it on YouTube, just under my name, Frank Meyer. But it's me and Dennis Post from Warrior Soul, and it's pretty dope.
Now, is something going on with Corey Clark's voice now? Because he is pretty much just a growl now.
Yeah, I think it's just years of touring and rock and roll and alcohol and cigarettes and all that stuff.
That guy always struck me as like the real deal, like really pissed off.
Dude, their album Space Age Playboy is one of my all-time favorites, dude. Yeah. It's huge influence on me.
What was that other band he had?
He had
Big something.
Big Rig or something like that. Dirty Rig.
Dirty Rig. That was good too.
That was good. And then he had a band in the early days that Kim Fowley produced called I think they were called The Trial. And it was like a Detroit sort of Jane's Addiction-y, noisy swirl band. And I think Kim Fowley produced the record.
Yeah, I like Warrior Soul. That Love Is the Drug, that's a good one too.
Oh, killer. Yeah. Downtown, all that stuff. Yeah. Great band.
So, and you also played with Cherie Curry. I think I saw her at Slim's, and you might have been in the band.
I think I did do that show. I did a lot of shows with her over the years.
You didn't do that most recent stuff with her when she went to...
No. I essentially got replaced by her teenage son when he got old enough to replace me. In the sense, and I don't mean that as a dig, I just mean when I joined her band, she was basically had an LA backing band that was sort of falling apart, and it featured a guy she was dating, and they weren't dating anymore, so suddenly there was sort of like, well, who am I going to have on guitar? And at that time, the Cheetahs were early in the game, and we got to know her, and we were like, well, shit, we love you, we'll back you up. And that just became like some shows we would just as a band back her up. Sometimes I was sitting in with her band. Sometimes Dino from my band was on bass with her. Sometimes she would just jump up and sing with us. So for on and off for like 10, 15 years, we were doing some variation of that. But during that time, her little kid went from like 4 years old to like when he was 14, he started sitting in with us on guitar. And by the time he was 16 or 17, he was pretty fucking shredding.
Oh,
and
good for him.
Eventually, basically his band became her backing band. And then that morphed into what she's doing now, So he's a great kid. And he literally, you couldn't learn from, have a better, launch pad in the world of rock and roll than having Cherie as your mom. Getting to sit in on gigs playing Runaway songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you, because Cheetah Chrome went out as a version of the Dead Boys. Were you in that too?
Sort of, kind of, not really. Basically, Cheetah and I met I interviewed him for On the Road with the Ramones, and Sylvain and a bunch of other people too. And over the years, became friends with those guys. And in both cases, when they wanted to come out to the West Coast, they essentially gave me a call. It was Sylvain and then later Cheetah, and then they ended up doing their band Batusis together. But essentially, each time I'd get a call from one of those guys, like, "Hey man, can you throw together a backing band or have the Cheetahs back me up and help me book a tour, hook me up with your agent, or help me do whatever?" And of course, I would, that's the kind of thing I'm like, "Yep, I'm in." Yeah. So we would do that over the years in various forms, and then Cheetah hooked up originally with that kid Jake, and I think the way it went down is that Cheetah moved to Austin, and I hooked him up with my buddy Ginchi from the Bulimics because he needed a new backing band, because basically he wasn't going to be based out of Cleveland and New York where his backing bands are based, and then his other one was us in LA, but that didn't help him out. in Austin, Texas. So I said, "Oh, well, hook up with my boy Ginchy. He's a great guitar player. He's like me. He like knows everything, and he's a good band leader." And so they became really tight. And the Bulimics sort of, for a little while, became his backing band. Then that morphed into him and Ginchy, because Ginchy knew the singer Jake, and they sort of assembled the new version of the Dead Boys, which eventually included Johnny Blitz, and then the whole thing fell apart. Yeah. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But
do you know the Dictators dudes?
I know all those guys, and I know they're now playing without Dick.
Yeah, I talk to him.
Right.
I talk to Manitoba like almost every day because I help him with his podcast. And
I know Manitoba. I like all those guys. It's a total drag that they don't get along anymore. But what are you gonna do?
I'm trying to help Manitoba put some music together for a new record.
Awesome. Give him my best.
Yeah, I will. So the new record, I really like the new record a lot. By the way,
Thanks, man.
It's in my. This will probably be my top 10 albums for sure. It's really good. I was really surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised, but you guys, most of the time, well, all the street walking, you had a band called, didn't you have Sweet Justice too?
Yeah,
I think I have some of that music.
After the Cheetahs, me and Bruce Duff did Sweet Justice, and then that kind of morphed into Angus Khan, which was a bit more of a metal band, and that essentially morphed back into the Cheetahs.
Yeah, so I got this, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and I really like it a lot. I mean, it's in the top 10. So I figured maybe we would, because a lot of people may not know who the Street Walking Cheetahs are. Maybe they've heard of the band, but if they look at the Rock and Roll Geek Show, who the hell's Frank Meyer? Now they'll know, and maybe we'll turn them on to some. Maybe they'll want to go out and buy the record if they hear some of the music. You okay doing a track by track and talking about the tunes?
Sure, man.
So you guys recorded, I'm guessing you recorded at your home studio?
No, we did the record at a place called Kitten Robot in Silver Lake, and it's owned by Paul Rossler from the Screamers and 45 Grave, and Josie Cotton. Johnny, are you queer now? And so
she owns the studio.
The two of them, I think she owns it, and Paul essentially runs it and engineers. And
is that her husband?
In-house guy. No, they're just like collaborators. There might be like another. I don't know all the business of their stuff. Right. There might be another person that owns it, but I know that she sort of essentially is kind of the person behind it, and then Paul is the day-to-day guy. And we've been recording with Paul on and off for the last decade. Bruce and I he's on the Sweet Justice record. I think he's probably on the Angus Khan stuff. He's certainly on a lot of other stuff we've done. And once he had that studio up and running, that's where James Williamson and I did the Pink Hearts record. I did a Thor record there, where the Cheetahs have done a ton of stuff there. So we, right before the pandemic, recorded the whole album at Paul's place. And then when the pandemic hit, all we had left was a few vocals and mixing, which we were able to do remotely or just have people go into, one at a time.
How long have these songs been written?
The earliest songs, I think Fast, Fucked, and Furious and We Are the Ones are from demos I wrote probably back in 2014 or 15. And so that was the first batch of tunes right when the band got back together for some shows. I kind of thought we probably need some new songs at some point. I started just writing. I'm always writing, but I started writing sort of with the band in mind again. And just over the years, anytime I'd write something that seemed like a cool Cheetahs song, I'd sort of bookmark it. And when we started, a couple of them, like those two and a few others, made their way into the live set. And eventually we just sort of picked the best of all the songs, and that became the album.
Yeah. Were you guys playing gigs on a regular basis before this bullshit hit?
Yeah, we were. Basically, and by the way, that's not to imply that I single-handedly wrote the record. I just mean, I was sort of the one,
you did.
Instigating it. And then along the way, though, Bruce wrote a couple songs, Dino wrote some songs, or we would write stuff together. But I probably got the most stuff simply because I was doing it for the longest. We were playing gigs. We when we first got back together in 2014, we did a tour with Cheetah Chrome and essentially had so much fun. We just really never stopped. We just don't do it the way that we used to, where we get in a van for 6 weeks at a time. Yeah. Now we just do weekends, and we do little road trips and stuff, but we just managed to work it with our lives,
Yeah. So this album came out last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What's the record label? Deadbeat?
Deadbeat. Yeah, we've known Tommy from Deadbeat. It's a Cleveland-based label, and he was around back in the early days of the band, and we were on a compilation. He used to do the early B-movie Rats records, and they were buddies of ours. So we knew him through those guys.
All right, so let's listen to a little bit of each song, and we'll talk about it. Maybe if I have any questions. First song is called "Ain't It Summer." Now, I played this on not the last Rock and Roll Geek Show, but the one before it, because I played two new Cheap Trick songs, and then I said,
I love those songs.
Have you heard the whole album?
No, I just heard those two songs, and they're killer.
I have the whole album. I got it.
I'm sure
it's fucking amazing, man.
Of course it is.
So I played those two that had been out, and then I said, now listen to this song, because you might think this is Cheap Trick, and this song reminds me of a combination of Cheap Trick, Red Cross, and this band called Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's funny you say that, because I love all those bands, and most people don't know about Lee Harvey Oswald, but I love, me and Bruce are big fans, and Eddie Spaghetti's a big fan of that band too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are all solid reference points.
Okay, let's listen to a little bit of Ain't It Summer. Anything to say about this tune?
It was written to be exactly what you just said. I'm a big Cheap Trick fan, and I wanted to write sort of a summertime Cheap Trick type song. And I think one of the many classic hallmarks of Cheap Trick is sometimes they'll open with those big a cappella Beach Boys harmonies. So I just thought that would be a cool way to intro the album and the song.
Yeah, and the harmony is also a little like, I don't know if you know this guy, Alex Kane, who was in, he had a band called Andy Product, a little bit like.
Yeah, I know. I was a big fan of Life, Sex, and Death.
Oh, yeah, that album's great.
Incredible album.
All right, a little bit Ain't It Summer. Yeah, there's the Cheap Trick right there.
Yep.
And that reminds me a little of Red Cross, that part right there.
Yeah, I mean, I love Red Cross, so that's definitely a big power pop influence on me, for sure.
This is the Lee Harvey Oswald right here. So by saying it reminds me of, I don't mean that as a put down or anything. You just need something like as a point of reference, you know.
Oh yeah, of course. And I'll tell you another point of reference. Those sort of cheerleader Hey Hey's parts are very influenced by Kicks. I'm a really big Kicks fan, and Donnie Purnell used to do all those sort of like big cheerleader gang vocals, and I purposely put some of that in there as a sort of a tip of the hat to Kicks. Big Kicks fan.
Yeah, a little bit more of this. All right, there's Ain't It Summer. So what I was talking about before when I interrupted myself, Streetwalking Cheetahs didn't have that many pop melody. It was more like a punk sound than the older Streetwalking Cheetahs, right?
Yeah, there's always, usually on all the records, there'd be at least one or two pretty poppy songs. Live, of course, they would end up sounding a little heavier. But I mean, even if you go back to our first record, there's a song called Peppermint and a song called All I Want that is about as pop as we've ever got.
Okay, yeah.
And that was there from day one. But again, we tend, live, we tended not to play that stuff as much, and we kind of just went for the throat,
So I love that song. That song's great. I'm sure everybody who's heard it loved it. Have you got any feedback on the album?
Yeah, so far I haven't read a bad review, which is terrifying because normally, there's at least one guy will come out and be like, "This is absolute garbage," which is fine. And that, if anything, it kind of reminds you, like, don't get on your high horse there, Mister. But so far, people seem to like it, so that's cool.
Plus, if everybody hates it and everybody likes it, you'll sell roughly the same amount of records, regardless.
Exactly.
All right, next song is called "Fast, Fucked, and Furious." Now, this is more of a straight ahead. I guess you call it. They call it in Europe action rock, I guess.
Yes, that is exactly right, and it's definitely got that sort of Helicopters, Electric Frankenstein, Nashville Pussy vibe.
I was going to say Backyard Babies a little bit.
Yeah, those are all bands that we came up with in the old days, and that's sort of our style from the get-go. So I wanted to make sure that there was at least one song with a lot of cursing and a lot of violence and, cops getting killed and, robberies and knife fights. I mean, that's a hallmark of our sound. So I want to make sure. And so this one delivered the goods.
All right. Fast. Go ahead. Anything else? What?
No, and it's short. Sometimes I like just short, sweet songs without a lot of stuff. I will also say that the guitar solo, I don't know if we're going to get that far, but the guitar solo is a very Andy McCoy influenced guitar solo.
Okay. Are you playing the solo or
Well, of course, yeah. Okay. Well, no, I mean, of course, because I decided I wanted it to sound like Andy McCoy.
Right. Okay.
All
right. Here we go. So did you do all the tracks at that studio, or did you do any overdubs at your home studio?
No, I think we did everything there. I think John Easdale recorded his vocals at his place, basically, but everything else was done with Paul.
All right, we'll get it to the Andy McCoy solo.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Fast, Fucked, and Furious. That's a nice rocker.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next song. I love the next song, Bad Vacations. It's super catchy.
That one, Bruce Duff came up with the music for it. He wrote it essentially as an instrumental and sent it to me and was like, hey, what do you think of this? And, it just was great song, had lots of cool changes, lent itself to some good hooks vocally. And at the time, I was working somewhere with this, not really like a cubicle situation, but definitely where I was working closely with a bunch of people. And there was this one girl who was just incredibly passive aggressive. Like, she would sort of tell you something really mean and horrible, but say it with a smile or say it with I'm joking. And you'd be like, yeah, I think you're joking.
Was she good looking?
She was cute enough. I mean, she wasn't like gorgeous. She was cute enough, and when she wasn't saying something that sort of had an ice pick vibe to it, she could be a pleasant person, but she was just so passive aggressive. So that song was essentially me bitching about her.
Okay, Bad Vacation. Here we go. I love that tune, man. That's super catchy.
Thanks, man. I'll tell you one interesting thing with this record that's a little different. We always had, a little sax here and there, and we would have sax players, everyone from Angelo Moore to other folks come up and jump up and do songs with us and even play on the records. But about the time we reunited, we kind of just decided we wanted that to be more of a regular thing.
Yeah, so you got full-time sax.
Yeah,
right?
Well, we found someone that started playing with us regularly, and we already got along with them. And after a couple of years, we were like, dude, you're in the band now. And so he's on every song, and it's really become part of our sound, and we kind of just try to work it. And sometimes it's more obvious, sometimes it's less. It's not always solos and stuff, but he's really like an instrument that it's part of our tool belt now.
Sax adds so much to rock and roll.
I agree.
Really
Yep,
does.
I agree.
And of course, Michael Monroe goes without saying. So.
Michael Monroe and Hanoi Rocks is a huge influence on us, and also obviously the Stooges are, and Funhouse has got great sax over it, and that was certainly a big power influence on all of us. So.
Yeah. All right.
City.
Next song is "We're the Ones We've Been Waiting For." I don't know if there's a thing called a single, but I guess this would be the single.
That's the first single. There's a really fun, wacky video for it you can watch on YouTube. That one is kind of our ode to the 80s and New Wave and John Hughes movies and modern English and Duran Duran and Psychedelic Furs. The song is actually probably the saddest song on the record lyrically, in the sense that it's about this girl that I dated who I met through her aunt and uncle, who were this kooky older hippie couple, owned a CD store in the Valley called Heavy Rotation. And that was sort of like my Cheers. I would go in there and, joke around with them and stuff. I'd walk in and I'd be like, Frank! And I ended up dating their niece, and they were very close friends of mine. And she lived with me for a while. She had this cat named Master Minu, which means king of the cats. And at the end of the song, you can hear me going, Minu, 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 like I'm calling Minu. And so both of them ended up getting cancer and dying within 6 months of each other. And then during that time, I wrote this song as sort of an ode to them and how we met, and a love song to her and her cat. And then, of course, we broke up too. And then, just to make it even sadder, the cat recently died. So, however, the song is actually very cheery and happy. And if you didn't know all that stuff, it's probably the happiest, most unlikely Cheetahs song on there. But again, it goes back to our love of Cheap Trick, and we're like, you know what? Nothing wrong with a good pop song. Let's do it.
All right, we are the ones. So here we go. Simple A and D, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Yeah, sax adds so much to it.
Totally.
So when Deadbeat Records came along to put this thing out, did they approach you about doing a record? Did you guys record these things and send them to a bunch of small labels?
We just made the whole album on our own and mixed it, and it was essentially completely done. And we sent it to a handful of labels, and that was the one we went with.
Did anybody else show interest?
Yeah, but Tommy seemed to move the quickest. Deadbeat seemed to just want to do it right away, and he's our main thing was that like we can do it. If we're just going to do it digitally, we can do all that stuff. Hire a publicist, and we don't need anyone. What we wanted was vinyl and CD, and that's his thing, man. He's like, I'll do colored vinyl, I'll do splattered vinyl, I'll do limited edition pressings, I'll do CD, I'll handle the retail. And we were like, fine, that's what we want. And he was a buddy of ours who knew us from our punk rockist, days. So it just made sense. Like, this guy knows exactly what he's getting, and he's getting our best record. So.
Yeah, that song's great, as you know, really good.
Thanks, man.
I mean, you should. I'm sure you are really proud of us. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I would just say, I wouldn't. But it is a really good album, as you know.
I appreciate it, man. I will say that we spent a lot of time working on it, and I was confident, as were the other guys in the band, that like the songs are good, and that to me is the foundation of any record and any good band. Is if you don't have good songs, you don't really have, a foundation to build your house on. And so I just see it as like we spent a lot of time making sure every single song was a banger. So
maybe you said this and I didn't, and I missed it, but did you guys record this before the pandemic or after?
We recorded it before the pandemic, except for a few vocals. I think we might have done after the fact, and then we mixed it after the fact.
So how did you go? Did they let you in the studio and stuff while because
well, I mean we basically we had already recorded anything that was more than one person, and then at that point I think like Rick Agnew is also good friends with Paul, so Rick just went into Paul's place, just the two of them one day, and he just knocked out his guitar things, and I went to Bruce's one day to finish some backing vocals, and it was just me and him. So we just kept it down to like two people with masks on for the last few little sessions of overdubs, and at that point we could just mix, and we didn't need to be in the same room together and trade notes.
Because everybody was so scared shitless at the beginning of this old bullshit thing, but
but like I said, me and Bruce, we were already both have home studios, and we were used to recording at home, so I was just like, whatever, man, I'm just gonna keep making music.
All right, next song is called The Rejected.
This is Dino's tour de force, if you will. There's another song he wrote, Scorpio Rising, too. I'll tell you more when we get there about that. But this one, he had wrote it, and it really sounded a lot like an ode to the adolescence. And I think he did it for a film project, and I think originally it was supposed to be sort of like a adolescent style punk song for this film. And he came to me to sort of flesh out the idea, and I was like, dude, this song is great. Like, don't just use this for your little film thing. Like, I mean, that's cool, but like, let's take this and make this a real song. And at the time, my daughter was really into the adolescence, and so I kind of was digging like this whole like let's connect with that. We were always doing sort of odes or tips of the hat to the New York sound,
right,
and to the Detroit sound or the Cleveland sound. But this album's got a lot more LA going on in it, and this song's sort of our nod to like that OC punk sound and the adolescence. And then we figured if we're gonna do that, let's just get Rick Agnew on it. So he plays lead guitar in it. We figured that would sort of seal the deal. All
right, here's The Rejected.
Never run from trouble, but we're always getting in
Man, that song's great too. Just about every song on this record is really good, man.
Thanks, man. I'll also point out that's Dino on lead vocals, and that's also a bit of a nod to the sort of old school Cheetahs in that our very first records, Dino would always sing a song on there. He was sort of the Walter Lure of the band in that way, and so I felt like that was a way to make sure this record had sort of an old school vibe too.
Yeah. You didn't help Walter Lure with his book, did you?
No, but Dino played with Walter Lure for a while.
Huh, okay. Did he play on that Rent Party record?
Him and Roy Morgan and a couple other guys out here were sort of like Walter's West Coast band for a while.
Right. Rest in peace, Walter Lure.
Right, yep.
Okay. Rumble Train, next song.
That one was probably one of the later ones, or maybe among the last ones written for the record, and it was written in a rehearsal studio. We were rehearsing, which is actually rare for us, because normally the way it goes is that me or Bruce comes in with an idea, or Dino comes to me or Bruce with an idea. We essentially go from there. But because me and Bruce have home recording studios, usually we'll make some demo of it before it really, we'll make a demo and then play it to the guys and then start to work on it. That one, I just started playing this riff and Mike started coming in and I said, hold it, this is cool. And I recorded on my phone and we ran through it, and I was even singing something close to what the final lyrics were just off the top of my head, or at least sounding it out. But I was saying Rumble and Train and all that stuff. And we just totally improvised that song, and I recorded it and then came home and then demoed it up. So it's that one. And then basically it's sort of your classic, like Rose Tattoo, AC/DC, early Guns N' Roses, sleazy, barnstorming rock.
You're okay talking about these tunes and stuff, right? You're okay.
Yeah, sure.
This? All right.
Yeah,
Rumble and Train. All right, there's Rumble and Train. Hey, does your daughter like the record?
I don't know that she's heard the whole final record. She heard bits and pieces while we were making it. She likes some of the songs. She definitely likes the poppier songs like "We Are the Ones" and stuff like that. But I'm her dad. She doesn't want to hear what I. She ever come to hear my music?
She ever come to your shows?
Yeah, she's come to see us a bunch of times. We actually played with Dramarama before COVID at this big theater show, and she brought friends out, and she had a really good time. She comes, but most of the places we play are all bars and stuff, or older, places that she can't get into.
Oh, she's not 21 yet.
She's 17. Yeah.
When you play with Thor, doesn't Thor dress up like a superhero?
Yeah, he's basically like a gladiator, Viking superhero.
Do you guys put on gladiator outfits too?
We dress up in outfits, not necessarily gladiators, but I basically for Thor was wearing my Angus Khan outfit of being sort of like an army guy rock and roll. So I basically looked like I was in Zodiac Mind Work, shades and an army helmet and everything all painted and crazy. Like
in that video, you did a video for Warzone a while back.
Yeah, I kind of dressed up basically in my Thor outfit or my Angus Khan outfit for that, but yeah, exactly.
All right, next song, Let Me Out. Thing to say about this?
The clear influences, if you know these songs, And I wear my influences on my sleeve. Like, you know, to me, rock and roll is like you take a little bit of this song, a little bit of this idea, and it becomes your own thing. But Alea by Donnie Iris was always one of my favorite, like, 80s pop songs and sort of pop hard rock songs. And, you know, Aldo Nova was a band I dug all that sort of keyboards on. And then also Fooled Again by Tom Petty off his first record. Sorry, my dog's barking in the background. That's another one that's sort of an influence on this song. So I was just kind of trying to write something that was sort of in that overall pocket.
All right, what kind of dog? You got a pit bull?
Yeah, he's like sort of a mix between a pit and a lab. His name is Mojo.
Okay. Let Me Out. Now, who's doing the keyboards?
That's Paul Rossler. And I'll also tell you that both these last two songs have a big Aerosmith influence, too, if you're not, you know, if that's not clear.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there's Donnie Iris right there. Oh, no, that's Aldo Nova right there.
It's basically all of them combined into one. You know, that's how you write a song.
American Heartbreak was influences on the sleeve to the point of practically plagiarism. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is a good one. I like this one. Yeah, that's great. That's a really good song, man.
Thanks, man.
I really like that. Next song, Scorpio Rising.
That's another Dino song. He came to me one day with that riff, and essentially, I mean, basically, he came to me one day with the entire song. It wasn't quite formed yet, but all those riffs were there. And he was also at that time going through the beginnings of what became a divorce. And so he essentially came over and told me all this crazy personal stuff that he was going through, and then was like, hey, I got this riff I'm working on. And actually that day he showed me Scorpio Rising, and I think The Rejected in the same day. And The Rejected, we kind of, you know, at the time it was going to be for this film thing, so there was sort of a different lyrical idea for that at first. But this one, pretty much, he just said, well, I got this music, and I just knew all the stuff he was going through, so I wrote the lyrics sort of about him and his situation. So it's very, again, it's like a Dino tour de force.
So he's the Scorpio Rising?
Exactly.
Okay, all right. You into what do you call that, Zodiac?
No, I just thought it was a cool title.
Okay. All right. Scorpio Rising.
And also it sounded like Scorpion Rising, but with like a, you know, I don't know, it's sort of a cool play on words.
Yeah, this is a good tune too. Frank, while this is going, I'm up in my studio up in the mountains, and while this is going, I'm going to go on the balcony and piss real quick. Otherwise, I'll be going in a beer can. So
yeah, no worries, no worries.
All right, here you go.
I get up when I'm down. I walk on water where you drown. You see fire when I see flame. I see river when you see rain. But I never try to run away until the day I play the part
right, that one's a little like Lee Harvey Oswald too, a little bit.
Yeah, I would say knowing Dino, it's probably more of a Wild Hearts influence.
Okay, I'm interviewing Ginger tomorrow.
Oh, I mean, tell Ginger I said hello. I love it. I'm a huge fan of. He and I had traded some emails a million years ago, but I'm a gigantic fan, and there's definitely Wild Hearts influences all over our sound. That's for sure.
When Ginger played some shows in L.A., I was in his band.
Oh yeah, I don't think I was at those shows. Dino was at all those shows. He's a hardcore fan, and that song definitely is sort of like our Wild Hearts song on the album.
I will tell him you said hello.
Yeah.
All right, One More Drink. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. I played this on a different podcast that I do. This is a good one. Anything to say about this one?
Well, this was clearly about drinking,
right.
And this is another one like we were talking about where I basically wrote like an ode to Dramarama / almost like a tip of the hat to Last Cigarette, which, is one of their classic songs. But instead of writing about cigarettes, I was writing about booze. And at the time, I was going through a bunch of stuff. My mom was like an alcoholic and she was drinking too much. And I, of course, was coping with that by drinking too much. And so I was writing this song sort of from that point of view, but trying to make it sort of snappy and fun and comical to take the heat out of the the sort of fire, if you know what I'm saying. And then I decided sort of like the band decided, we had just played this show with Dramarama and we're huge fans. And I wrote this song that sort of sounded like them. And I just said to John Easdale, like, hey man, you want to sing on this song? And he was into it. And we're lucky enough to get the guy from Dramarama on our Dramarama song.
Oh, Did he comment that it sounded like a Dramarama tune, or did you tell him that?
No, I told him that I wrote it essentially as an ode to him. And he's a former alcoholic. He's sober now. And what I had simply said is, well, this song's sort of an ode to drinking, but it's really an ode to drinking fucking up your entire life. And he's like, well, I can relate to both of those, so I'm cool with that. And he did his thing on it. And the original demo was me singing that 2-part harmony. So I just sent him that and was like, I just want you to pick a harmony and you're going to be the one guy and I'll be the other guy and we'll just do it like that. And it sounded great.
All right, One More Drink. Did you quit drinking?
Oh, hell no.
Okay, all right. Sounds like you're mixing a drink right now.
No, I was actually washing my hands, but I was drinking a beer. I was drinking a beer earlier there.
All right.
I'm no quitter.
All right. All right, one more, man. Every song, I'm telling you, man, every song on this album is pretty good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
It's really good. I'm I'm jealous that all right. Next song, Warzone. Obviously, a little AC/DC. You're right.
Yeah, and this was the last one included on the record. So we had basically recorded the whole album, and then the pandemic hit, and after that, and after everything was on lockdown, when the Black Lives Matter started, riots started happening, and then there was all when the protests started happening, and then all of a sudden they were beating people down, and there was riots, and there was just all this stuff. Then I wrote Warzone based on that, and I recorded it on GarageBand, and I sent the tracks to the guys, and I managed to get everyone to get on it in some way, shape, or form, and we released an original version of it.
Yeah.
Through like Bandcamp, and it was just a one-off single, sort of like, hey, this is our little kind of protest song. Essentially we dug it so much that we then got Mike into a real studio when there was that little moment where things lightened up before everyone doubled down on all the quarantining.
Right.
And we were able to get Mike into a studio and knock out real drums instead of fake drums, swap that out, remixed it, mastered it, threw it on the record.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because I saw that video and it sounded like a different recording.
Yeah, that's a slightly different. That's a different mix. I think those are the live drums on it, but it's a different mix, and it's definitely a different mastering job. So it's a little different. Yeah.
Warzone. Here we go. Oh, I guess I better turn it up. I'm fired this
Sure.
producer.
Wait, but you're the producer.
No, I got a guy in the next. I'm in a big compound here. I got a guy running the board down the street.
Oh, well.
Warzone. All right, Warzone. That's a great one too.
That song's all about our drummer Mike Sessa, man. He's such a beast. He played in the Humpers back in the day, or not in the Humpers. He was in the Vice Principals, which was like a Humpers offshoot, and he was in the Joneses, and he was in Rosie Flores, and he played with Cracker, and he was old school OG Cheetah's drummer, but like he took that song, which was very stiff. I mean, it was purposely stiff, but he gave it that backbeat. And man, that's such a huge difference. He's a beast. To me, this whole record, the big difference now is like with Mike back in the band, because he was out for a couple albums at the end of our original run. The band manages to always have hips, no matter whether it's punky or hard rock, whatever our style is. It always kind of grooves, which I really dig.
Yeah, it's important to have, especially when you're playing that kind of like an AC/DC type tune. It's important to have,
because the difference between AC/DC and like all of their imitators, is the rhythm set. It's the fucking drums, man. Yeah, it's that it swings and has hits. The same thing with the Stones, and every Stones imitator. Charlie Watts is the secret of the Stones.
Yeah, exactly. All right, last song, which is 6 minutes and 48 seconds, an epic, Switchblade Nights.
So this was straight out of the heart and soul of Bruce Duff, our guitarist, who, a quick little thing with Bruce is that he wasn't in the original band, but originally when we started off, we were signed by Greg Shaw to Bomp Records. We did a couple records there, and then Bruce Duff, who was the A&R guy at Triple X Records, but also played in the Ads, which was an adolescent spinoff. He signed us to Triple X, where we went to do most of the records people know us from. And so he was our A&R guy, and then when he left Triple X and the group broke up, he and I formed Sweet Justice and then Angus Kahn. So when we reformed the Cheetahs and Art Jackson, our original guitar player, had essentially retired, we were just like, well, let's just get Bruce. So anyways, he's been with the band even longer than he's been with the band, if you know what I'm saying. He came to me with this idea. It was an instrumental. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when another musician gives me an instrumental and says, hey, why don't you come up with some vocal ideas, I actually prefer if they don't tell me what they think is the chorus and what's the verse and what's the bridge. I just like to listen with fresh ears and just see where my brain goes with it. And so I wrote these lyrics and all the vocal stuff over it. And when I gave him my demo of it back, he goes, well, that's killer, man, but you sang like your chorus was supposed to be the verse and the verse was supposed to be the chorus and the parts where you're singing was supposed to be like where there's just riffing. And I go like, well, yeah, but I mean, I didn't know that. Just listen to it now with fresh ears. And he came back a day later and he goes, yeah, it's cool, man. It totally works. And the overall idea, this is our tribute to the Stones. So this is basically our Midnight Rambler on the record, hence why it's a big, long jam, has a big Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers replacement sort of drunken barroom brawl section in the middle. And then it just jams out like you would Midnight Rambler, you know?
All right, a little bit of Switchblade Nuts. We won't play the entire 6 minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah, God help us.
I'll let it go through one more chorus here.
Sure, and then, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Just FYI, I actually, whenever we're done, I'm actually running to an acoustic gig tonight. I'm doing.
Yeah, we'll be done in about less than 5 minutes.
No, perfect. All good then. No worries at all.
Where are you playing the acoustic gig?
So I'm playing at D Piazza's. It's in Long Beach. I play there every Thursday, but I'm also this Saturday, Eddie Spaghetti from the Super Suckers and I are playing at Alex's Bar in Long Beach.
So they've opened bars back up?
So like at Alex's, everything's outdoors and we're playing outdoors and it's still all like you have to be sitting down and order food and blah, blah, blah. At this D Piazza's, which is a smaller venue, they're open up inside. I'm playing inside, but I'm solo by myself, and they still have, it's like every other table and everything's all spaced out, and then you can still sit outside too.
Is it weird playing in front of the social distance crap and all that?
Man, I just pivoted, dude. When this shit happened, I just fucking was like, whatever, now I'm going to be a one-man band troubadour, and I've got about a 55-song, 3-hour set I can do, and I do everything from Iron Maiden to New York Dolls to the Cheetahs and Robert Johnson. It all sounds like outlaw country when I'm done with it.
I don't understand how you have less chance of catching Corona if you're sitting down eating than you do.
I don't get it either, but I've been tested a bunch of times. I've been negative every time, and I've been continuing to play music in some way, shape, or form. It's not throughout all this, but at any time they've been able to open up any live music, indoor, outdoor, whatever, I'm the first one in Long Beach going like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it, let's go.
Well, I'm glad you're playing and not worried about You know,
It's not that I'm not worried. It's that I know how to be safe. I know what makes me comfortable. I wear a mask, and if I'm by myself on stage and I'm spaced away from people singing by myself, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not. And if I get up to go pee or talk to friends, I put my mask on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Well, Frank Meyer, hope you have a good show, and congratulations on the album. It's really. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. It's a really good album.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man.
The album is called One More Drink. Go ahead and give them all the plugs and all that if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the record's called One More Drink. It's on Deadbeat Records. You can pick it up on vinyl or CD. It's also available on all digital platforms. So just look it up on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever you get your music. We're on social media at Streetwalkin' Cheetahs on Instagram or The Streetwalkin' Cheetahs on Facebook, and on YouTube we've got a ton of videos. We've been making a lot of videos now instead of playing live, because that's really all you can do. It's either playing acoustic solo for me, or it's making videos with the band where we can do it remotely or in ways that, you know, we can kind of pull off in smaller numbers. So, you know, check it out, man. We're really happy with this record, and I appreciate you giving us so much love on it, man. It's really cool.
All right, Frank Meyer, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, and drive safe to the gig.
Yes, sir. Will do.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, take it easy, buddy.
Right, bye. There you go. Frank Meyer from Streetwalkin' Cheetahs. I hope you like that. Good guy. I will let this go. Thank you for tuning in, friends. Value for value. If you got any value out of this, you know what to do. Please donate. And also, let Frank Meyer know you heard about him on the Rock and Roll Geek Show, so he knows he didn't waste, or so he didn't think he wasted over an hour of his life on this dumb podcast. All right, friends? Thank you so much for listening. rockandrollgeek.com, rockandrollgeek@gmail.com. Find me on the Facebook, RNR Geek. Find me on the Twitter, RNR Geek. Find me on the Instagram, Rock and Roll Geek. Don't ask. I need a beer because my mouth is dry. Thanks for listening, friend. I'll talk to you. Well, Susie Quattro tomorrow and Ginger Wildheart tomorrow. So I'll talk to you tomorrow, friends.